That's a good question. And just as there's a divide among Gulf states, there's a divide within the United States, even the Trump administration, when it comes to Iran. Let's bring in Mohsen Milani, live from Tampa, Florida. He's the executive director of the Center for Strategic and Diplomatic Studies and professor at the University of South Florida. Professor Milani, thanks for being with us. I want to begin with the summits going on in Saudi Arabia. How much of a challenge is it going to be for Riyadh to have a united front in dealing with what they say are threats from Iran?
Thank you for having me on. I think it's going to be rather difficult to have a consensus about Iran and supposedly the threat that Iran poses. That does not mean that Saudi Arabia is not going to try its best to form a united front against Iran. Saudi Arabia has tried to do this on numerous occasions before, but usually in the past, they have not been very successful. I think the importance, even if they reach an agreement, even if there is a consensus, either in Gulf Cooperation Council, which is very unlikely, or in the Islamic Conference, it's going to be a symbolic gesture because none of these players have any executive power or can really change the dynamic of the Saudi-Iran relations or the U.S.-Iran relations.
And the summits follow an attack on 4 tankers off the UAE coast. National Security Advisor John Bolton blamed Iran without, I should say, offering any kind of evidence. Iran denied it, called the allegations ridiculous. Then, of course, you've got the Trump administration's military buildup in the region, and then you've got the mixed messages coming from this administration. Professor Milani, can you explain to us what the end game here is for this administration?
Well, it is very clear, as you indicated at the beginning of the program, there is a great deal of confusion and great deal of contradictory signals coming both from Tehran and Washington. We do know now that there is a clear division within the Trump administration. We have the National Security Advisor, John Bolton, who has a very aggressive policy toward Iran. And we also have the President of the United States, who has been on record for saying a couple of days ago that he is not looking for a regime change in Iran. And he even went one step further and said that with the present leadership in Iran, Iran can become a major economic and political force. And in Iran too, on the one hand, the supreme leader has said no war with the United States, but no negotiation with the United States. But we do have the president of the Islamic Republic, Mr. Hassan Rouhani, who gave a very conciliatory talk the other day, and he said that if the sanctions are lifted, then Iran might be open to negotiation with the United States. We are in a very fluid situation, and we have no idea where this ball is going to go to.
Okay, so how concerned are you, Professor Milani? All this heightened rhetoric, the back and forth accusations, the tensions. How concerned are you? Some kind of miscalculation, some kind of mistake will lead to a much bigger, ominous military confrontation of some kind.
I am very concerned, and I think anybody who has been following the course of the U.S.-Iran relations in the past 40 years must be very concerned, must be very alarmed. However, I still believe that there is very little possibility of a full-scale war between Iran and the United States. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has been on record for saying many, many times that he is not interested in a war with Iran, and I take his word seriously. I believe he means it. And the Supreme Leader of Iran also has said that they're not interested in a war. However, there is the possibility of miscalculation, either by the Iranian forces or by the U.S. or by some players in the region whose interest it is to escalate the current tension. And should that happen, then there is a possibility of a limited military confrontation between the two countries. And then if that happens, who knows what's going to happen It is always a possibility of unintended consequences, and therefore it is in the interest of Iran, in the interest of the United States and the international community to do everything they can to de-escalate this tension between Iran and the United States and push the two countries toward negotiations, to go back to the tables and to discuss various issues and various grievances that each has against the other.
Professor Mohsen Milani, thank you so much. And last year, U.S. President Trump unilaterally pulled out of the global deal to limit Iran's nuclear enrichment, which followed imposing sanctions on Iran. Jonathan.